Eboli, waking up in a hospital bed, confused and disoriented. She's been surrounded by doctors and nurses, and as she comes to, she realizes something terrifying. She's in the middle of a medical procedure that she never consented to. She thinks to herself, "Isn't this the story I read last night?" Eboli had been immersed in a dramatic Korean novel about a girl betrayed by her family, nearly having her life altered by a twisted, wicked stepsister who wants to manipulate her into losing everything. In the novel, the girl is about to undergo a forced breast surgery, orchestrated by her stepsister, but Eboli had read it to the end. She knew the consequences. As she looks around, she realizes she's somehow caught in that very story. She's lying on an operating table, and just before the procedure is about to take place, her sister, who's actually the villain in the story, says, "Don't worry, sister. Let me do this for you. You'll thank me later." Eboli, enraged and betrayed, shoots back, "What? You fake sister. I know what you want. You want to ruin my life. You want to take everything from me. You're not my sister." But her stepsister keeps pretending, playing the role of the caring sibling. But Eboli knows the truth. With a surge of adrenaline, Eboli fights against the doctors holding her down and manages to escape the operating room. She doesn't look back. She runs into the unknown, determined to escape the horrifying fate that awaits her. Eboli's heart pounded in her chest as she bolted through the sterile hallways of the hospital, her breath coming in ragged gasps. The sound of footsteps behind her grew louder. Bodyguards. Her stepsister's loyal henchmen. She didn't have much time. The surgical team was likely still in the operating room, waiting for her return. If they performed the surgery on her, everything she feared would come true. Her life, as she knew it, would be destroyed. As she dashed down a corridor, she rounded a corner and collided with a tall, muscular figure. She stumbled back, wide-eyed, her pulse racing. It was him. Kasha, the man she was supposed to marry. But this man, this boy, wasn't someone who loved her. He didn't even care about her. He was using her, manipulating her into marrying him for the sole purpose of gaining access to her family's wealth. "Eboli," Kasha called out, his voice cold. He reached out to grab her arm. "Where do you think you're going? You can't escape. I need that surgery done. It's too late now." A surge of anger coursed through her, but she didn't have time to argue. The bodyguards were closing in. She had to run. She had to hide. In the split second before she made her escape, Eboli's eyes darted around. She saw a door labeled Room 13. Without thinking, she rushed towards it. She pushed the door open, her legs trembling beneath her as she stepped inside. She had no plan, just a desperate need to disappear. Room 13 was eerily quiet, except for the faint beep of medical machines. And then, Eboli saw him. The man in the bed was unconscious, hooked to tubes and wires. His face was pale and his eyes were closed, his body limp and unresponsive. She had no idea who he was, but at this point, she didn't care. She ducked behind the privacy curtain and covered herself with the duvet on the bed, her body curled up tightly in fear. The bodyguards would never think to look for her here. At least, she hoped not. But as she lay there, trying to steady her breath, she heard something. A voice. "Get out of here." Eboli's eyes shot open, her heart nearly leaping out of her chest. Had she imagined it? Was she hallucinating? She froze, holding her breath. No, it couldn't be. But then the voice came again, louder. "Don't come near me." Eboli blinked, confused, and quickly looked around the room. Was she hearing things? The man in the bed was still unconscious, yet she could hear his voice, clear as day. "What? What is happening?" she whispered to herself, shaking her head. "He's in a coma, how can he talk?" "Shut up, you're not hearing anything," came the sharp response, snapping her out of her daze. "I'm not hearing things?" Eboli asked out loud, a tremor in her voice. "I have to be going crazy." But then it hit her. She could hear him. The man in the coma, somehow she could hear his thoughts. Her confusion deepened. She was caught in an insane situation. She didn't know whether to laugh or cry. But before she could collect herself, the voice continued. "Leave. I don't know what you want from me, but this isn't your safe place." Eboli's mind raced. She couldn't just leave. If she did, the bodyguards would catch her. She had to stay hidden. She begged in a low voice, her words soft and pleading. "Please just let me stay here for a little while. I'm trying to escape something. Please. I'll leave once they're gone, I swear. I'll repay you somehow." The voice paused. Then, in a tone that seemed to have a mixture of weariness and reluctant acceptance, the voice said, "Fine, but don't make a sound." He was letting her stay. But for how long? She lay there, her mind spinning. She was hiding in the room of a powerful CEO, someone she knew nothing about, and it was a total accident. All she knew was that she couldn't leave. Not now, not with her stepsister and Kasha searching for her. Meanwhile, outside the room, Kasha and the bodyguards were still looking for her. CEO's personal assistant, a sharp-eyed man who had just entered the ward, blocked the door to room 13. He wasn't about to let anyone disturb the man in the bed. Kasha was furious, but his assistant stood firm, not allowing him to pass. "You can't disturb him," the assistant said, pointing to the door. "Not today. It's off limits." Kasha seethed with frustration but had no choice. He turned away, muttering curses under his breath. "We'll deal with her soon." He wasn't going to let Chaebol get away so easily, but for now, he was forced to leave. Inside room 13, Chaebol could hear the commotion outside, but she dared not move. As she lay in the CEO's bed, covered in the duvet, the weight of her situation sank in. The only place she felt safe was with him. But she still didn't know who he was. Later that day, the CEO's mother came to check on her son. Chaebol was holding her breath, praying she wouldn't be found. The CEO had still not responded to any of the doctor's attempts to rouse him from his coma. But somehow, Chaebol's presence in the room had brought something strange to life. The machines around the CEO's bed, which had been silent all day, suddenly beeped with life. He was waking up. Chaebol quickly scrambled out of the CEO's hospital bed, her heart racing. She knew she had to leave before anyone discovered her presence. But as she moved towards the door, she heard the door creak open, and in walked the CEO's mother. Chaebol froze. She didn't know what to say, so she blurted out, "Oh, I was just passing by. I lost my way." The CEO's mother looked at her with suspicion, but before she could say anything, something miraculous happened. The CEO, the man who had been in a coma for 12 long years, suddenly reacted. His fingers twitched. His heart rate spiked. The machines around his bed beeped and hummed with life. The mother's eyes widened in disbelief. "Wait, my son, he's never reacted before. He's never moved in 12 years. But just now when you were near him, he reacted. He's responding." Her voice cracked with emotion, and she turned to Chaebol with desperate eyes. "Please, please, you must marry my son. You've brought him back to life." Chaebol stared at the woman in shock. Marry him? The same boy who had never cared for her, the one who was planning to betray her for his own gain? She could hear him begging, his thoughts clear in her mind. "Please don't marry me. Please don't do it." His voice echoed with frustration and anger, but the only person who could hear it was Chaebol. He was trapped in his coma, unable to stop this bizarre series of events. As the CEO's mother continued her pleading, urging Chaebol to marry her son to help him wake up, the tension in the room grew thick. The boy's reaction became stronger the more the girl ignored his pleas. Chaebol, rolling her eyes, crossed her arms, shaking her head. "Shut up. You're in a coma. You can't do anything. Even if I marry you, it's your loss. You don't even have the power to stop me," she muttered under her breath. The CEO's mother smiled, as though Ebele's words were the answer she had been waiting for. "Please, my daughter, you don't understand. You are a blessing to our family. You are the reason my son is showing any reaction. He's coming back to life because of you." Ebele, irritated, sighed, but the situation was getting increasingly complicated. She thought about her own life, her stepsister's betrayal, her father's indifference, and her mother's death. She had no one. Her family was corrupt, filled with lies and manipulations. She was trapped, with nowhere to go. The weight of everything pushed her to the edge. The CEO's mother continued, "It's for the best. You'll be able to change his life, marry him, and you'll never have to worry about anything again." With little other choice, and with her own future uncertain, Chaebol relented. "Fine, I'll marry him. But it's not for you, it's for me, and for what I need to survive. You're not the reason I'm doing this, but I'll play along." That night, when they returned home, the atmosphere shifted. Chaebol was led into a lavish room, much bigger and more extravagant than anything she'd ever seen. The CEO's mother was full of gratitude, now even more convinced that Chaebol was her son's savior. She made herself comfortable and then gave Chaebol a simple task. "Change your fiancé's shirt. Let him wear some pajamas now that you're here. It's only right." Chaebol blinked, surprised by the request. "What?" The mother insisted. "Yes, change him. He's not just your fiancé by name. He needs you." Chaebol felt a strange excitement building within her. She'd been obsessed with Korean dramas, particularly ones with handsome, powerful CEOs. This moment felt like something out of a movie, her chance to be close to the man she'd only ever dreamed of. As she looked down at the unconscious man in the bed, she thought to herself, "I finally have the chance to touch his heart." She couldn't deny that this bizarre turn of events had sparked something in her. She unbuttoned the boy's shirt slowly, carefully, her heart hammering in her chest. Her hands trembled as she thought of how absurd the situation was. She whispered to herself, "If you touch me, I swear I'll kill you." The CEO's body twitched, his anger boiling over, and for a moment, Chaebol could hear his thoughts again. "You think I want you here?" He spat mentally, his frustration evident. "Shut up! I don't need you to change me. Get out." Chaebol smiled even as she heard his angry voice. "You're in a coma. You have no choice. And don't think I care what you want," she said aloud, more for herself than anyone else. The CEO's mother, watching the scene, was thrilled. She couldn't hear the mental exchange between the two, but to her, it looked like Chaebol was successfully caring for her son, who hadn't shown any sign of life for years. She beamed with pride. "You're doing great. You're the one who can bring him back." She sighed in relief. As Chaebol carefully changed his shirt and laid him down in his pajamas, her heart raced. She was stuck in the middle of a story she never signed up for, but somehow she had gained control over the situation. The power she had over the CEO's responses, his frustration, his anger, she realized she had an unusual influence over him. The night ended with a strange tension between them. The boy was still unconscious, and yet something had shifted. The CEO's mother was pleased with how things had gone, and for the first time, Chaebol felt like she might be the one in control. Chaebol knew something the CEO's mother didn't. The boy was still lying unconscious, and nothing was guaranteed. As the days turned into weeks, something strange happened. The CEO began to react. Slowly, his fingers twitched, his breath became steadier. Chaebol could hear his thoughts clearer now. The boy was waking up. One morning, after preparing breakfast for herself, Chaebol entered his room to check on him. But when she walked in, she found something that made her blood boil. Maids cleaning his bed, doing their usual tasks, but slacking off. One of them had wiped his bed with half-hearted effort, and the sheets looked sloppy. "What is this?" Chaebol snapped, her anger flaring. Without thinking, she slapped the maid across the face, her hand stinging from the force. "Apologize," she demanded, her eyes blazing. The maid, frightened, bowed her head and apologized immediately. "You'd better clean that bed properly, or you'll face the consequences." Chaebol turned to the others, glaring fiercely. "Now, go to my mother-in-law. She will handle your punishment." The maids scurried away, looking over their shoulders as they rushed to meet the CEO's mother. The tension in the room was palpable. Back in the bedroom, the CEO, Kasha, was silent, but Ebele could sense the shift. He had been watching her. It was the first time someone had stood up for him, had defended him, and for some reason it stirred something inside of him. "You've been standing up for me all this time." His voice was faint, but she could hear it clearly in her mind. She smirked, her hands resting on her hips. "Don't get used to it. I'm here to protect you." Her tone softened, and she smiled for the first time in days. "This is just the beginning. You'll be fine. You'll wake up, and you'll get stronger." The boy, Kasha, lay in his bed, weak but responding to her presence. He was aware of her, and it felt like a small victory for her. She had finally found someone to fight for, someone to protect, own battle. In a world where family had turned their backs on her, where betrayal and heartache had followed her all her life, she now had something that felt like power. Please guys, like and subscribe to my channel to support the channel. Thanks for watching still. Now subscribe for part 2.